African leaders led by President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, and 3 other African heads of state visited Kyiv in the hopes of brokering peace between Ukraine and Moscow. The efforts going on with Russia and Ukraine, and where Nigeria stands in all of this. I'm joined in the studio by Professor Abdullahi Shehu, is the Nigerian ambassador to the Russian Federation with concurrent accreditation to the Republic of Belarus. He was pioneer director general of the ECOWAS Intergovernmental Action Group against money laundering and terrorism financing in West Africa, otherwise called GIABA. That's the acronym. Good to see you, Professor, and thanks for your time. Quickly, let's start by asking about your base in Russia and how this is actually going for you and Nigerians.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Since the commencement of the Russian special military operation in Ukraine, February 2022, it has not been easy, so to say, but we give glory to God that we have been able to survive it. We were initially faced with the challenges of evacuating our citizens from Ukraine.
Just the way we did in Sudan.
Yes. In fact, we did our own was more hectic than the one in Sudan because we had more students to bring back. And through the efforts of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with the support of other neighboring countries in Europe, we were able to successfully bring out our students from Ukraine. The Russian authorities offered to assist with transit if our students needed any transit through Russia. But of course, given the situation at that time, most of them preferred to leave directly from Ukraine to Abuja. With respect to our citizens living in in Russia, we have been watching and monitoring the situation. And we meet with them often to check on them to ensure their welfare and well-being and to encourage them to be law-abiding and with the hope that it will not get to a situation where we will need any evacuation. And thankfully, we have not had any cause to evacuate anybody from Russia. Even we were able to receive a batch of our bilateral cooperation students who arrived in Russia early December, and we still received officials from Nigeria who have any engagement in Russia. So to that extent, I can say that we have survived.
Well, survival is a good thing, and I love to see that smile on your face. But let's stretch it. Investments, Nigerians living in Russia, and the relationship between those who also have their investments there. How is it going? Because we can see some form of destruction in, especially the border towns in both countries. Are there Nigerians that have been affected directly by this war?
You remember soon after the operation started, comprehensive sanctions were imposed on Russia by Western countries. And most, if not all, their companies had to leave Russia, meaning that there will be shortages of certain commodities, hopefully. In addition to that, you know, the crisis also blocked the delivery chains, especially in the Black Sea, where some people complain of lack of delivery of certain goods to other parts of the world, including Africa. With respect to that, we can say that the Russian authorities adopted some cushioning measures to assist their population, and we have seen relative stability. There has been no uprising. The citizens understand what the government is doing, and the government cares also for the citizens, so they are, as far as we can see, they are okay with their situation. With respect to Nigerian investment, you know, even before the operation, the trade volume between Nigeria and Russia has not been anything so huge, even though it was remarkably picking up after the after the pandemic. Unfortunately, the crisis occurred and everything had to almost reduce to lower than even the COVID period. So the few Nigerians that are in Russia, of course, you know, when there is something that affects the generality of the population, Nigerian citizens cannot be exception in that regard. And therefore, a few of them who have been involved in legitimate business also felt the pinch. So, well, even though they have not relocated, but certainly I can tell you that the business is very low. And also the fact that people cannot export any commodities now in large quantities to Russia due to the constraint of logistic disruption. If, for example, you go to a region called Novosibirsk, for example, very far of Russia, if you want to import something from Novosibirsk to Nigeria, that means the nearest port you will get will be in Vladivostok. And Vladivostok is ahead of Mongolia. So you send it to Mongolia, it has to pass through Mongolia, pass through China, pass through Asia, before it will find its way to Nigeria. You know, that is a long route. So definitely, certain things, especially trade and investment, have been disrupted, but we hope that the situation will come to an end sooner than later.
Let's see if we can speak more about what's happening back home. And one of the key things that the president is doing is the fight against corruption. Yeah. And you were the pioneer director general of GIABE, that's the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing in West Africa. Yeah. Speak to us, how much of it do you think Nigeria can do in the Tinubu administration to give more fillip vigor in the fight against terrorism and money laundering?
I can say that the 3 weeks of Tinubu administration in Nigeria has been very eventful. And from feelers we hear from the media, most people or many people have praised the starting. Even some opposition have appreciated that the government has started on the right footing. We are confident and optimistic that with God's guidance, the administration would succeed because it has come to face several challenges. The fact that the administration has started on the most difficult challenges, decision-making with respect to the fuel subsidy, and the administration recognizes the impact of that decision on the populace, means that the administration is fully aware of the problems and is ready to deal with the problems head on. Another significant step taken by the administration is the deregulation of the foreign exchange market. This will have tremendous impact on the economy, and it is good for an administration that is visionary, is purposeful, to take some hard decisions at the beginning so that it can stabilize.
Are these some of the things, sorry to cut you in there because we're rounding off, are these some of the things you think you will come up at the Russia-Africa summit?
Well, certainly cooperation between Russia and Africa is the main agenda. And cooperation cuts across various sectors, including investment opportunities, including bilateral cooperation in economic science and technology and energy. So the issue, you know that Nigeria used to import fertilizer from Russia. And therefore, we hope that if we are able to sustain this type of cooperation, we stand to gain, Africa stands to gain in the area of support in the agriculture, humanitarian affairs, security, and trade and investment.
Your Excellency, Professor Abdullahi Shehu, Nigeria Ambassador to Russia, many thanks for speaking with us here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, Suleiman. I appreciate it.